Chris Smith, director of Triangle.
Hello, mate.
Welcome to Screenjabber.
It's past beer o'clock already. I'm drinking wine.
Where did the idea for Triangle come from? I suppose you've been asked a million times.
No, the idea, where it came from, I mean, where I had the idea was sat on a beach with Jason Newmark, the producer, actually. I just said, what if we're on a boat and it's upturned and we approach a big ocean liner and we see a shape, and that shape turns out to be one of the people on this boat. And, you know, so you go through the whole final girl thing, and then you look back and see yourself arriving. That's where the idea happened. Where I think the idea came from was an obsession with, for a long time, with the short film Le Jeté, which became the feature film 12 Monkeys. I became obsessed with that film. The idea that you eventually look back on the thing that caused your destruction. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be great if we made a movie where the victim is the killer, and also the victim and also the killer again. And it just grew out of obsessions, really, with movies like The Shining and a number of films. Don't Look Now. Again, they all deal with doppelgangers, and they all deal with the idea that is it you that's bad, and how do you get away from your bad self?
I was going to ask, from seeing it, I mean, one film I thought had a bit of an impact on it would have been Dead Calm. The old Nicole Kidman.
Dead Calm was Dead Calm. Robert Humphries was. We were big fans of the look of Dead Calm, so we gave it the kind of backlit look. It has the Australian light. Yeah, so that's where we were.
Yeah. So speaking of Australia, how was my fellow Aussie Melissa George to work with?
It was a good shoot. It was a difficult shoot. I mean, it was pretty hard to sit there and go. When you sit with an actor usually, and they work out the graph of where their character is going to go, where their character arc's going to go. But because of the way the film works in loops and circles, she has to have a full arc in the first 30 minutes, then another full arc, because her character keeps changing. So it was tricky, I think, to get into the groove of how that would play out. But once we got it there, it was fine. I think it was good. I mean, it was hard to say to an actor, you've got to go to level 10 immediately. And what we'll do in the next loop is we'll put you into another kind of mindset and then build you back up to another level 10. So it was a tough shoot for everybody, I would say.
Yeah, Melissa's recently made quite a name for herself doing some really good work in horror films. You know, there was Waz, there was 30 Days of Night. Yeah. And I think in both films she's amazing. Was that your reason for casting her?
Yeah, I think Melissa's absolutely brilliant in the film. I think she's really, in an impossible film that could have become a really techie, formal exercise in structure and formal, a kind of formal approach of how the movie works, and instead she breathes a real life into the role, which was tricky for us both to get, but we got there. I liked her in all the films you mentioned. I liked her in 30 Days of Night. I think what Melissa possesses is she's got this kind of fractured screen persona, which I think people like Hitchcock would have loved. She's got this, you know what I mean? It's like she's this really pretty kind of side, and then there's this other side that is on the screen as well. And I think it comes to it's for brilliantly in the HBO thing in Treatment, where you really see she's just crazy in that. She's cute and crazy simultaneously. And I think that when I first saw the idea of using Melissa, and we were looking at her stuff, I felt that she had that. Hitchcock would have used her, I believe, in his movies.
Yeah, and you really put her character through the emotional ringer in the film. Were there any tricks you employed on set to push her to the edge and get that riveting performance out of her?
Yeah, we just kept on going and pushing and pushing and pushing, and she'll tell you, pushing. When I was talking about the idea of not holding back, it's if you're being chased by someone with a shotgun, you have to play like you're being chased by someone on a shotgun. If that happens 20 minutes into the movie, unfortunately you still have to go to level 10. And I think that was the only hard thing that was to get that through. But once we did, we got it through, and it was great. And I think that it was, every movie has you think you're going to have a problem, and you think that problem is going to be doing the big storm sequence or doing this sequence, and those are often the easy things. What's the hardest thing I always find is to get that balance between a humanity and playing the genre character as well. And I think that was what we both managed to get, and it was very hard to do, to play a real mum that you care for, but also to obey the rules of the genre and not let it go too art house or let it go too genre. We had to kind of permanently together walk that line, which was tricky.
Yeah. Did you film it on a real ocean liner?
No, we built it on. We shot it on on the real ocean, where we built a big ocean liner at the end of a jetty at the end of Surfers Paradise, which is not paradise, but I kind of like the place.
That's Queensland.
It's
not paradise,
but it's kind of cool, but in a kind of uncool way. So we built this whole jetty, but I actually got to like the place. But yeah, it's what anyone that isn't from Australia can't get their head around. It's so amazing is you're filming and you see blue whales go by and you see sharks and turtles. You know, I'm very lucky to do the job I'm doing. It's brilliant.
Yeah, and this is your third horror film after Creep and Severance.
Yeah.
You know, do you think you'll stick with that genre, or are you looking to branch out and?
I think that what I'm trying to do is they're all different. I've just done Black Death, which is a kind of dark horror story. It's more than it is a horror movie. It's like a kind of guys on a mission, you know, film. It could almost be a western, but with a horror undertone. I'm not branching out like to escape. I've got lots of stories I want to do, and I think what I try to do is the most interesting. And all the stuff that I've either thought of or has come to me so far has been horror ideas or you know, or sort of dark ideas. I'm working on a script for a long time, which I'm going to hopefully make this year, which is a kind of kids Spy Kids movie, which is like the English kind of born Nikita, Shane Meadows kind of Spy Kids film. So that could be fun.
Okay, I was just going to ask you, what are you working on next?
Yeah, so that's it. It's like what would it be like if kids were really used as spies? What if hoodies were doing surveillance? What if the reason their antisocial behaviour is deliberately a ploy to put off their real plan? And that's what the film's about. But kind of cool with it. So it's chavvy, but yeah, it's got a like kidulthood, but for kids. So
very different to the previous films. Chris, thank you very much.
Okay, mate.